Make sure to subscribe to the Volume YouTube channel so you can catch all of our shows and get what everybody wants, more of me. Well, we get him a couple times a year. Mark Cuban, owner of the Mavs since 2000, Shark Tank, Mr. Bitcoin, 200 wealthy Americans, 200 wealthiest Americans. And oh, by the way, Mark Cuban, Cost Plus Drug Company, we have one thing in common. 20 years ago, I was in Portland, Oregon, talking to a friend, Ron Pivo. And we got into one of these kind of ethereal conversations about America. And he said, what do you think the next big crisis is? I said this 20 years ago. I said, the cost of pharmaceuticals. I grew up in a middle-class family. I said, I'm watching what my mom pays for stuff. I'm like, dude, this is outrageous, $7 a pill. So obviously, and by the way, you look thin, you look in good shape. Obviously, the cost isn't affecting you personally. But when was the moment for you that you attacked this and thought, we have a huge problem? Because I think it really is a huge crisis in America.
Well, no, probably 6 years ago is when I really started, dabbling in healthcare and trying to learn more. Trying to figure out, when people were talking about replacing the ACA or getting rid of it, just looking at what the alternatives would be. And then along the way, I was contacted by Dr. Alex Oshmayansky. And he was running a compounding pharmacy, a special kind of pharmacy. And we started emailing back and forth. And I asked him, I said, well, if this Pharma Bro guy can increase prices by 750%, what can we do to decrease prices? What are our options? And he's just a rocket scientist. The guy's super smart, educated me on the industry and how pharmacy benefit managers work. And we put together a program right now where we don't go through insurance. We don't go through any middleman. And every drug we sell at costplusdrugs.com, we mark up 15%. Then you pay $3 for the pharmacy handling and $5 for shipping. That's it. And your net cost is typically less than your copay.
That's fantastic. And I love mentioning that. Give me the website one more time.
Sure. It's costplusdrugs.com. And go and look up your prescriptions. And even if we don't have it, please sign up. We're getting ready to add another 60 drugs on Monday, and we should have over 1,000 drugs by the end of the year.
Okay, so Luka Doncic, I admit, I saw his grainy tape from Europe, and I said this: he looks out of shape. I don't like his body, and obviously he proved me wrong. He's a tremendous player. Most people view him as the singular player in the league they would start their franchise with today.
Yep.
But after his first year, there were questions about his fitness. How does Mark Cuban broach that? How do you go to a star who's going to be, if he went to the open market, he'd have 30 suitors. How do you go up to him and say, what did you have for dinner last night? How do you broach it?
You don't. I mean, look, he's a smart kid and he understands what's going on. And he feels that playing the games, I think it was an adjustment for him, like every 19, 20, 21-year-old goes through as you start to mature. And every one of us goes through as we enter our careers, right? You go from being a kid, even though he was a professional kid,
right,
to being a pro, and not just being a pro, being a superstar. So there was an adjustment for him. And what people don't realize about Luka is not only is he a top 3, if not better, player in the game, but he's smart. He is so smart, and he's got such a good heart that those things together, he's always going to try to do the right thing. That's just who he is.
Mark, there's the NBA since the 70s. I was a Seattle Sonics fan. Spencer Haywood, basically, back in the 70s, it was a players' league. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you wouldn't like the league. I've always been comfortable. It's a players' league. NFL is more about the shield. Baseball's often more about the general manager. But international soccer in the NBA, it's about the star player. You were one of the first owners, you may have been the first, that went team playing, upscale locker room, nutrition. You were kind of the first in. You had kind of a different view of the world. You were the youngest or first or second youngest owner in. And there's a fine line now as if you've aged between caring for the players and coddling them, and that's a real line. Right. I've said I prefer Adam Silver's style over David Stern. The danger with Adam is sometimes I worry that he's almost too pro player. And what is that line as a sports owner between really being there for the player, but being tough and holding them accountable? They are employees and you have customers.
Right. It's a great question. And the first thing you do is look at the players themselves because the player of 2022 is not the same as the player of 2015, as the same as the player of 2005 versus 1995. The internet and social media have changed everything. And so, what a 21-year-old is into today, what is important to them, how they communicate with fans or each other is night and day different than when I first came into the league. They're already brands when they come in.
Right.
Now with name, image, and likeness, they're wealthy brands in some cases, and they recognize the things they can and can't do in order to gain that income. And so by being a brand, being on social media, not just for athletes, but for all of us, is kind of performance art for all of us. We kind of pretend who we want to be and show the side of us we want to be seen. And today's athletes have grown up that way. The 21-year-old had got their Instagram the minute they were old enough to get Instagram, and they got their
Right.
Snapchat. And so dealing with that athlete today isn't about coddling them or not coddling them. It's about understanding them and understanding how they communicate and what's important to them. My son, my 12-year-old son, my 15 and 18-year-old daughters, you know, in 10 years ago, 20 years ago, rather, if I had the same age kids, I'd be pushing them to read books, thinking that's the only way to learn.
That's right.
Now, YouTube and TikTok, they get as much information there as they get anywhere else.
Yep.
How you communicate and how you connect to athletes today is geared more towards understanding them than rather some definition of coddling versus, having them figured out for themselves versus, you're on your own.
Well, think about this, Mark. You didn't have Google growing up, and yet you're a brilliant guy. My son is a sophomore in high school, and he is already looking at ways to get out of high school sooner. He's a super bright kid, and he's like, Dad, I know what I want to do in life, cybersecurity. He's really good at it. He's got an LLC. He knows what he wants to do.
I'll connect him with Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank.
You will?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's great. So my point is, this is not only happening to athletes, but our kids. We have an antiquated education system in many instances and brilliant kids. And not that it's a crisis, but I think it's something as a parent, Mark, you're dealing with this. I have a 16-year-old son and a 21-year-old daughter. They get bored more quickly. They're not as challenged in these sort of static educational block systems we have. What do you do to your kids to say, hey, it's okay to be a kid. Go swimming today.
Well, but it's okay. Just like, look, we used to have the boob tube, and our parents would be like, "Get off the phone," or "Get off, get away. You're going to go blind if you sit in front." Now instead of the boob tube, it's the boob blurb, right? Because it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, but it's a constant source of information, and so it's not so much. I've 6 years ago, 7 years, 8 years ago, pre-TikTok, effectively. It was, okay, let's see where they are with their social media. Let's see where they are in their information consumption. Let's see what they're reading. And I still, bribe my kids to read. My middle daughter gets Jordans if she reads 300-page books,
Right.
And can explain it to me. My older daughter is past that. My youngest son, or my son is 12. They're on TikTok all the time. And so what I do is I try to watch them with TikTok, but also get on TikTok with them. It used to be, okay, what books are in the library and what are they reading, or what books can I, remember the Scholastic books? We'd come home and there'd be a check mark, and you'd get Robinson Crusoe or whatever books your parents would pick, and they'd get delivered in the mail, and that was a big deal. Now, I think as a parent, I try to pay attention not only to their Instagrams, but also to TikTok, because I can see the same, as long as I'm looking at the same type of stuff, I can see the same type of feed and understand what they're learning and have conversations with them. And so rather than trying to just pretend that I can get them not to do it, which I can't, it's just too easy to use TikTok. It really, really is. And so I have to make the time to get on TikTok. And Colin, I find myself now, how you get on the treadmill or bike or whatever, and you try to kill time and you just want to divert your attention? Now I use TikTok, like if I'm running or walking or biking, I'm on TikTok just going through with the 30-second or whatever clips, and the time goes by faster, but it allows me to understand my kids better. But it's still, I don't worry so much about the social media consumption as I do the direct messages, because, they're still my kids and they're going to be available, and I have to go through rules with them about, when people DM you, what you can and can't do and who you can and can't follow, or who you can or can't let follow you.
Yeah. By the way, my morning routine is coffee, 15 minutes of CNN.com, Wordle for hopefully less than 10 minutes, and then TikTok. My wife loves TikTok. She follows animals and food. It's just a steady stream.
Well, that's the beauty of TikTok, right? And the brilliance of TikTok, it's all artificial intelligence. And by the way, TikTok, like presentation of sports, is the future of sports media. Period, end of story. It is the one thing. TikTok, like presentation, could save baseball in terms of sports media, because baseball actually is the perfect sport to present every at bat. So look at it this way: TikTok uses AI to present the things you're interested in.
Yeah.
So if my son and I like Luka Doncic dunks, NBA stuff, and dogs, right? You're just going to get a steady stream of that. If Major League Baseball did a TikTok version, call it Red Zone for the NBA or Red Zone for Major League Baseball, and all I cared about was Ohani, the Texas Rangers, and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
That's right.
And every impactful at bat, bottom of the ninth or runners in scoring position, and I'm blazing through, it's showing me in real time a live feed of just that at bat, or just that possession when Luka has the ball, or just that dunk, whatever it may be from my favorite players. That's the future of sports media, because we're not going to get our 16-year-old or 12-year-old or 15-year-old to sit in for a full game. It's just not going to happen.
If you were evaluating new companies in 2002, 2012, and 2022, what is the biggest obstacle in this next 10 years for starting companies?
Artificial intelligence, because there's two types of companies: those who are great at AI and everybody else. And you don't necessarily have to be great at AI to start a company, but at some point you're going to have to understand. It's just like the early days of PCs. You didn't have to be good at PCs, but it helped. Then networks, and then the internet, and then mobile. All these evolutions in technology, you don't need to know them to start a company. But even in sports, right? I mean, the conversations I have, it's not about analytics and what's the best thing of analytics. It's about computer vision and AI and pose estimation and, precision medicine and, blood analytics, whatever it may be, all these things that you have to pay attention to that are really the things that have the greatest opportunity beyond player development to give you a competitive advantage.
Every league has strengths and weaknesses. I don't love baseball's 10-year contracts. Football has regulated violence, but great players can be hurt. Basketball doesn't have the punitive contracts, and players don't generally have career-ending injuries. But if there was one thing with the NBA now that you'd say, guys, Mark Cuban's commissioner for 6 hours, you got to make a change, what is it?
Referees, move the charge circle out some.
Mark, I'll throw this at you. This is what I believe about the 3-point line. I would take out the corner three. So it would go into the bench, because I think it's virtually impossible to defend the corner three and the basket. If you're big like a Bosch, Kevin Love, Durant can shoot a three.
But then again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, that we just get that scoring more. It makes you innovate more. So, even you've seen the mid-range make a comeback because defenses are so in tune to taking away the three, pump fake, and you step in. But, I know what it would be. The rip through. I'd get rid of the rip through so fast it'd make your head spin, because if you're standing there and you're defending me, Colin, and you put your arms out to defend, if your arm's straight out and I do the rip through, right, it's a foul. If I took that ball and hit any other part of your body, it's a foul on me, right?
Right.
It makes no sense. The defender has got just as much opportunity to put their hand out, as long as it's not on the offensive player's body. But, you just put your hand out and, put your hands out like you were taught to play defense, right? Hands up, hands out. If the offensive player can reach you with the ball, they're going to rip through and it's a foul. And if you're in the bonus, that's, 2 easy points. Get rid of that.
Why do I have to, in the NBA, match salaries on a trade? It makes you less flexible as an owner, doesn't it? Less nimble.
but it also deals with competitive balance, right? Because otherwise, even with the luxury tax, you would have a team with a $500 million payroll.
Is that terrible?
Yeah, it really, really is, because it when you distort the economics too dramatically, it impacts fans, it impacts the ability for competition, it impacts ticket prices, because as much sometimes you've got to really be concerned about where our ticket prices go. And I do get concerned. I mean, we've got 4,000 tickets of $29 and under for every game. We've got at least 2,000, I think it is, for $18 and under. And I get worried that, we're not going to be as affordable as we need to be. And so when salaries go up, not everybody's just going to absorb the losses. There's going to be teams that try to pass it on.
Okay. The presidents often say, Barack Obama said this about North Korea, that you'll become president and there'll be something that becomes a time suck that just takes away a larger percentage of time than you want.
Yeah.
Take your entire ownership. Is there something that you can't hire your way out of? Is there something that you think, this meeting, I can't get rid of it?
Yeah, there's tons of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't always been as good at it. Where I'm at in my point in life for the last 20 years, I deal with the stuff I like to. I'm really fortunate. And, I just hire people and let them do their job and trust them till I can't. And there's just so much administrivia involved with the NBA and all businesses for that matter. All the forms, all the this, all the that you've got to do, and the things that go to putting on a game. You got to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Unfortunately, I've got great people to do that. But yeah, just going to the NBA meetings and dealing with the perfunctory things, it's just mind-numbing.
Do you still love it as much as you always have?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, let me just tell you, we've had a couple, Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie game winners.
I know.
And there's no better feeling than, your heart is like in suspended animation as the ball's going through the air and it splashes it through, and I'm running on the court high-fiving and hugging everybody. That's me, and there's nothing better. Or just being able to get out there and shoot the ball when other guys are out there, just like I'm still 10 years old. There's nothing better.
Were you surprised that Spencer Dinwiddie, because I thought, he likes the ball too. Was your staff concerned a little, Jason Kidd concerned a little, that he would take the ball away from Luka?
No, not at all. I mean, because he played an off-the-bench role, so it's not like he's always started and always been the dominant player. He's always been at some level a complementary player, and he's always fit the needs of the teams that he's played for.
I was talking about this before we went on about the likability of certain players, and that it matters more than you think. That, Steph Curry gets along with other stars. LeBron, by and large, can be needy at times, but he elevates other players. Luka is very intense. Tell me the likability that I don't see, because I look at him and I think, man, that guy is intense.
Oh, no. Are you kidding? The exact opposite. I need to get Luka to come on and have you spend some time with him. Luka is chill. Luka is chill. He's just, I can't even tell you. So there was a TV star that came to a game, and his son is disabled. I think it's cerebral palsy. And without me even really having to say something, he had a wheelchair right by the court pregame when Luka was born. Luka's just right there talking to him, taking pictures, and just got when I say he's got a heart of gold, it's not me just saying, I got to talk about my star in the pot. That's who he is. Like, there's never been a time when there's been somebody around the court or somebody even that holds up a sign that he can get to, or where I've asked him to sign something or do something where he said no. Not one single time. The guy, Luka, if you're just hanging with them, like going to dinner with them, it's just like, hey, what's up? What's going on? It's just chill. He's not, now when he plays, like our game last night against Minnesota and Patrick Beverley. Oh, yeah. He's a beast, right? He doesn't back down from anybody.
Right.
But when he's off the court, he's just, if he was 5'8" and 130 pounds and you were just, talking to him and he's playing FIFA or 2K, whatever it may be, or Fortnite. He's just a kid playing games, and he'd just be your great friend.
Well, I think what's happened to European players, they were more finesse and skilled early. I think Luka is the gateway into a new European player, which is feistier, tougher. They heard the criticism. They heard.
He's 6'7", 245 pounds. He's a linebacker. He's a linebacker that knows, you know how you always see these football players in celebrity games and everything? They're insanely athletic. They've got some skills. They were the high school basketball star. Luka's the one that could have been the football star if he would grow up in the United States, but played basketball instead and has all the skill. But he is a linebacker. That's how strong and big and physical he can be. And you don't really truly appreciate his size until you stand next to him, or you smack him on the back and you realize he's thick and he's powerful.
Well, you owe me then. I'm going to hold you to this in the next year, a Luka interview, because he is the player I think overwhelmingly GMs would start their franchise with.
Yeah.
And you have earned it, my friend. You're somebody I have a great deal of respect for. I'm going to let you go. It's Mark Cuban. Give your drug company another pomp.
It's costplusdrugs.com. If you have a prescription for anything, please go to costplusdrugs.com. Sign up. It's free. There's no membership fees. There's nothing. And if we carry your drug, I assure you it's cheaper than what you're paying for your copay right now with insurance.
You're good people. Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it, Colin. Thanks as always.